So there's a song by Simba that I like, and I listen to any kind of music. Like I listen to everything because I like to keep an open mind. Um, so and I'm not like all about motivational music and all that stuff. I just like good songs. So like anyway, there's a song by Simba called "Go Get It," and starts out real easy. There's two type of people in this world. There's people that wish they had it. There's people that go get it. Which one are you? And like everybody wants to be the go getter. Everybody usually answers, "I'm a go getter. I'm a go getter." But you know what? A lot of them ain't. A lot of them have an excuse. And I mean, I know I shouldn't care. I know I shouldn't care. But it's one of those things where, like, if you try to help somebody out and you keep seeing them falling into a pattern of stuff where what you're helping them with really doesn't matter. I mean, you keep on helping them out. You keep on helping them out. They keep on falling back in them habits. They can't. They keep on making excuses. You know. Um, it's just one of those things. Over time, you're just gonna kind of stop helping them. You're just gonna stop playing with that because at the end of the day, I don't care if you're a man, you're a woman, you're a boy, you're a girl. I don't care what you are. Doesn't matter. The difference between getting there and not getting there is giving up that excuse. I don't care what happened in the past. You throw that out. You throw that out and you move on. You say, here's what I have, and you move forward. I don't care. I don't care. Don't be looking in that rearview mirror. That old song, throw that rearview mirror off kind of deal, done. Throw that rearview mirror off. You don't need it. Every other car on the highway is a box. Doesn't matter what brand that car is. Doesn't matter how much that car cost. It's a box. You pass that box and you move on. There might be some dangerous boxes out there. There might be some slower boxes out there. There might be a lot of stuff in the past coming up on you. It's a box. So you got all these boxes out on the highway. You shooting on the highway. Something holds you up. Okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to hold up. Wait for this. Wait for this solution to open itself up. Then I'm going to go by. I don't care about that car that I just passed that was going 60 miles an hour in the 70 mile. I don't care. That's gone. It's in the past. It's a box. You got to look at that like other things. You can't use that excuse, that box, that guy on the highway who was going 60 when you were going 70 to ruin your day. It's a box. Move on and adapt. You don't need to be thinking about stuff that doesn't matter, especially later on in the day. Now, if that box is becoming an issue, or if that does present an issue that you got to deal with, okay, deal with that. But don't focus on it if it's already been dealt with, or if there's nothing you can do about it. Okay? Somebody racks up a whole bunch of debt. A lot of y'all like this. Somebody racks up a whole bunch of debt. Whose fault is that? Whose fault? Who made you pull that card out and do this or that and that? Whose fault is that? There's going to be a couple exceptions where they're like, well, my kid broke his leg and it did this, and I didn't have insurance, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and that led to this. Well, there's a couple steps there that you screwed up. It's still your fault. If you did this and this and this and this, and then that thing happened, maybe you wouldn't be as screwed. There's exceptions. I'm sure somebody's going to be like, well, this and this and this. It's an excuse. Give it up. Move on. Don't be making excuses. Don't be making excuses. What you need to make is solutions. You got to give up all the excuses. And when you catch yourself finding you making an excuse, because you'll catch yourself, you'll catch yourself making that excuse. So if you find yourself in debt and, you shouldn't be going out, you shouldn't be going out to eat because, maybe you're going to spend, let's go $30 at that fast food place, went for $60 and for one night. If you're lucky, I don't go out to eat much. There's a reason for that. I'm telling you right now. If you can go $30 for there, or you can go to the supermarket and spend $60 and maybe pay for 5 days of food. You know what you're doing. So what are you doing at that fast food place? You making an excuse. You don't have to be there. Ain't no reason to be there. It's convenient. And because it's convenient, it's easy to make an excuse. You know you're in debt. If you're in debt, you're in debt. Why are you spending more money at that fast food place than at the store? So we're hitting two things right here. You're making another excuse. If you broke, it happens. If you broke, what you doing about it? Why are you broke? Maybe you gotta live out of your car for a little bit. Maybe you got the clothes in the back of the car. Maybe you just tell them outright, where's my address? And you use like you use your mom's place as the address or something, But you ain't living there. That's just where you're getting your mail in case you get served or something. In case you get something from the court. Goes to your mom's house, and then your mom be calling you like, hey, you got this letter, And then you actually, that way you ain't in trouble for like not showing up or whatever. But you can be living out your car at the clothes in the back of the car. Tell your boss, this is what I'm doing. I'm on hard times, and you got to do this and that and the other thing, Maybe you couch hop a little bit so you can hit up showers and all that. Maybe you don't even have that. Maybe you got to hit like a truck stop and pay $12, $15 for a damn shower like 3 times a week. Do what you got to do. Well, what you're doing in that situation is you ain't making no excuses. You're clawing yourself out of that situation. Because, like, if you can't afford rent, maybe you work at a grocery store and you're making, let's say 12. That's about the medium of realistic here. Let's say $12 an hour. You're working at a grocery store. You're making $12 an hour. You ain't, because you didn't graduate no college, okay? Or high school. Because you didn't graduate college. And because of all that, you're making $12 an hour. So you're living out your car. Maybe you got some clothes out the car. Maybe you found an employer where they maybe you found employment where they give you a uniform, so at least you're good there. But then what you do is you living out your car because you don't have to pay no rent. You getting to work on time. You sleeping in the parking lot before work, and you leaving later. And then you finding somewhere to park that car. You keeping your clothes clean by going to the laundromat and all that. You keep them presentable. Despite this, I know I'm a hypocrite, right? But you keep presentable, and then you still maybe you do tell your boss, this is what I got going on. You can send all my stuff to my mama's house, but this is what I got going on. And a lot of them They're gonna understand. You don't have a high school education. Maybe you, while you working that job, maybe you're actually doing some online schooling to get that GED. Maybe, but you're doing all that stuff. You're clawing yourself out of there so that you can move into an apartment and move up and maybe get where you gotta be. What you ain't doing is you ain't making excuses in that situation. You're not. You're not making excuses there. It's gonna suck, but you ain't making excuses. You're clawing yourself back up. You're not just, I can't pay for this. I can't do this. I can't do that. Screw that. Screw that. You can do it. You can do it. You just got to figure out a different way to do it. There's always a different way. There's always a different path. Hell, write it out. Come up with a plan. You might get frustrated. It might suck. But we got so many resources out today. You can say, okay, here's my situation. What do I do about it? And it's easier. It's easier. Once again, it's convenient to do this all on your own. Okay? But it's one of those things where being honest about it and telling people, like I'm telling you, telling your actual boss or whatever, here's my situation, and open up to that, they're going to understand. And do not be ashamed of your situation. Don't be ashamed of that. If you're living out your car and you doing this and you doing that and you making it work, I don't know about other people, but that deserves my respect all day long. If you're in a situation and you're trying to get out of that situation instead of making excuses, I respect that more than anything. Versus somebody that is using an excuse to not better themselves, to stay in that situation. Okay? They're staying in that situation because the excuse. Okay? They're not moving up. They're not thinking of different solutions. They have this, they've identified as this thing, as this excuse, and they don't want to improve further. They don't want to go past that. They got this little comfort zone, and they're identifying as that excuse, whatever that might be. Like there's ways around stuff to move yourself up. Like I never went to college. I did that math in high school. It didn't make sense to me. I was like, I don't want to be going to school forever. I don't want to be doing all this. So I asked myself, what do I do? Well, there's a lot of jobs that pay good money that I can do. So I actually did those jobs. I already told you the jobs. It was a couple, probably a month ago. But I've done a lot of manual labor jobs. And most of them paid good money. Different parts of the country, I'd be doing different jobs. Like if I was down south in Louisiana or Texas, I'd be on an oil rig all day long. Especially through my 20s, probably into my 30s, I'd be on an oil rig, making that money, putting it aside. No wife, no family. Heck yeah. Maybe you did kind of, I don't want to say mess up, but maybe you ended up with 2 kids before you graduated high school, kind of deal. Let's go with that. Maybe you got 2 kids who are at let's say 17. How about that? Okay. Maybe you got 2 kids at 17. All right. We ain't gonna go into it any further. You got 2 kids at 17, and you didn't graduate because you had to take care of the kids. You did a crap job. You tell people, a lot of programs out and all that. You tell people, you figure out what you gotta do, and you move on. You get that high school education because that's going to help you. And then you move forward into something else. Into it might suck. It's going to suck. Some things suck. If you want to improve yourself, there's going to be times where it sucks. You're going to find yourself making excuses. Make solutions to those excuses. For every excuse you have, there's a solution. There's no question about it. Every excuse you have, there's a solution. The only reason you're not doing that solution is because of the excuse. I don't want to say laziness, but that's a big part of it. And convenience. Laziness and convenience. Why didn't you meet this goal for the day? And why didn't you meet this thing for the day? Well, I did this and this and this. This had to get done. That had to get done. Excuses. You still want to get that thing done for the day. No matter how you plan on it. And if you don't get it done, it's an excuse. That being said, if the other things are actually more viable and more actually had to get done, it's a legitimate excuse. Okay, but still keep that in mind. This other thing still has to get done. The whole money thing. If you're doing this and you're doing that, the other thing, the bills still got to get paid. I don't care what you did. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. Now you got to work harder on this thing to get that. Maybe you got to work a Saturday instead of taking that weekend off. Maybe you got to cancel the night out on Friday night because you honestly can't afford it. You shouldn't be spending that money. Maybe you got to cancel that. Maybe instead of going to the theme park, you go to the local park, your local public park, and you do a day in the public park and all that. That costs you gas money to drive there and all that, but you're not going to the theme park and spending $200 that you don't have. That's probably low too. But maybe instead of going out to the movies, you buy a movie for $3. Maybe buy some popcorn, splurge on some popcorn. I don't eat corn much, but there you go. Maybe you do the popcorn and buy a $5 movie, and that's movie night. You probably spent $10 instead of $60. And maybe you can do some other stuff while you're watching that movie. I'm a big component of doing 2 or more things at once. Everybody says you can't do 2 things at once. Trust me, you can. These days, there ain't no question about it. You can do 2 things at once. You can do so many things at once. It's like a computer would have background programs. You can have as many background programs running as you want. That's something we don't even think about today. You can have so much stuff working in the background, you don't even have to think about it. But people that are like, well, you're only going to go to the movies and you're only going to watch the movie. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. You ain't got time for that stuff. You can be doing this movie, but you can be doing stuff in the background. You can and it can be simple stuff. Maybe you do the movie night, but while the movie night's going, you washing some clothes, you prepping some other stuff to sell. Maybe you're doing some research while you're watching the movie, doing the slow parts, because you're not in the theater. Don't be that person if you are. But but you're doing this and that and the other thing. You're not playing around. Maybe while you're going down the highway in your car, you're listening to an audiobook. 2 at once. You're learning while you're going down. You're improving yourself. Why don't you know about this topic? Because you ain't learned about it. Now you can learn about it. You can do that second thing while you're doing the first thing. You can learn about that thing while you're at work. Maybe. If they allow it. If your employer allows you to have maybe headphones in your ears while you're working and your phone in your pocket, or an audio device that you downloaded that audio book to, not your phone if they restrict that. Everybody's different. But if they allow you to have a headphone in your ear because it's a loud factory and all that, or something like that, or a loud assembly line, or whatever, they allow you to have that thing in your ear, go for it. Learn for that 8 hours. You're doing two things at once. Maybe you're doing more than that, but you're doing two things at once. You want to lose weight? Maybe instead of eating at your break time, maybe you're learning something during that break time. Maybe you're doing something else during that break time besides eating. You're going to lose some weight. Because, it's an excuse. Why don't you ever eat at lunch? Well, I'm on a diet and I'm trying not to lose weight. Be honest with people, they're going to understand. Versus you just saying, well, I don't want to. Don't just tell them outright. I want to lose some weight. So that's why I don't eat at lunch. Or I eat a big meal before. Like me, I eat a big meal before I go to work. I almost never eat at work. I try not to. Once again, I got the excuse. So I cheat. I shouldn't cheat, but I do cheat. It's an excuse. I know it's an excuse. It's weakness. That's all these excuses are. They're weakness. It's easy, it's convenient to throw out that excuse. I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. But if you want to be a go-getter and go get it, you can't wish you had it. Like that song. That's what I'm saying. If you wish you had it, it's easy to wish. It's easy to make excuses. It's easy to say, well, so-and-so was born this way. Screw that crap. You know who the best people are? The first generation wealth makers. People who made no money. Or, if they did make some money before them, they're still moving up. You're moving up. You're moving up. You're moving up. You're not sitting back. You're not screwing up. You ain't living with your mama till you're 35. You ain't living with your mom till you're 30 years old. Kind of deal. If you got to, okay. But I was guarantee you don't have to. I was guarantee you there's a way around there. Maybe you got to live out your car for a while. Okay. But are you improving? Or are you just living out your car? Are you just sleeping for 10 hours in the day and maybe bumming some money off your friends and then taking off and screwing around like that? But you're still living out your car kind of deal because you're making excuses. Or are you improving? Stuff happens. You gotta adapt. That's the game. That's the game. There ain't no question about it. You need to stop making excuses. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter where you at. It's all about where you're going. You need to stop making excuses. It's convenient. That's why it's easy. That's why it's so easy to make an excuse. Because it's the weak way. The weak way is the easy way. Water flows easily down a river when nothing is blocking it. But it takes work for that water to actually do something. Okay? And that water can do some amazing things if it's actually put to work in the right way. You can be like that water. You can move down the river. You can find the easy way around. You can find the convenient way. Or you can do some work that'll actually move things. But I'm not saying don't make all excuses. I'm just saying try to justify the ones you make. You know where you want to be. If you don't, write that stuff out, figure it out. Maybe I'll do that later. But you know where you want to be, and you know where you're at. You got to figure out, okay, here I am. What can I do about it? Don't be saying you can't do a damn thing about it. That's a damn excuse. You can do something about it. I guarantee you can do something about it. Just got to figure out what you got to do about it. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's situation is different. But you got to figure it out and move on. Maybe you come up with a plan, but you come up with that plan and then you start executing that plan, even if you don't have every little bit figured out. You come up with a rough plan and you start moving forward. Otherwise, you're just going to keep making that plan and you're never actually going to do the plan. But you got to figure out what you got to do and then execute it. Otherwise, you're just another excuse maker. And I like helping people out. But if I find that they're an excuse maker, constant excuse maker, several excuse maker, excuse after excuse of how everybody else is making it hard for them, I can't respect that. At some point, I can no longer respect that person because they keep making excuses why everything is not their fault. Okay? They're the car going 60 on the highway, complaining about everybody going around them at 70. It's okay if that's as fast as you can go, but don't be blocking the rest of us. Move your butt over. You know? And don't compare yourself to those other vehicles or other boxes. Don't compare yourself to those other boxes. Okay? They moving faster than you. That's all great. You're still moving. That's what matters. But you're not. You got to keep moving. Okay? You ain't sitting in the road stopped. You ain't sitting in the highway stopped, complaining about the cars because they're going around you. Yet you got to be moving. And they're going to complain because you in their way, you slowing them down. You know, once again, once you pass that, you move on. You forget about it. It's in your rear view. I don't care about the rear view. Even if there's lights flashing, I usually didn't care. Usually if there's lights flashing, I already know where I did. And like my younger days, I got a whole bunch of speeding tickets, and I would just pull over. And why you doing this? And be legitimate with the officer. I already knew what it was. I was going probably 10 or 15 over. And, oh well, it's a speeding ticket. What were you doing? You were speeding. You should fight that. I ain't got to fight it. It's all speeding. It's simple, one of those deals. You admit it, you move on. I messed up. I moved on. Simple as that. I still got a little bit of a lead foot, and I know that they're going to start messing around and having cars and all that, taking pictures and tagging you for going 5 or 10 over as you're going down the road. They actually have a couple of them out right now, but it's going to get a lot worse. But that being said, I know I need to lighten my foot. So I'm lightening my foot little by little day. I'm watching what I'm doing, and I'm kind of breaking that habit. I'm not making that excuse anymore. Just saying, my foot's just a bit heavy, so I gotta just move on to that and stop making excuses. I told you about that little vending machine where I mess up time to time. That's an excuse. I gotta work on that. You always gotta work towards that goal, towards that thing, towards being better. Okay? Doesn't matter where you at, it's about where you're going. Doesn't matter what's in the rearview mirror. It's about what's in front of you. Maybe you got an issue, adapt. But don't make excuses. Don't wish you had. Don't wish, do. Okay? Anyway, next time, people. Thank you.